Hello, Ranty.
Hello, how's it going?
Very well. How are you doing?
Well,
Not too bad. I was going to say congrats on your 40,000, but you don't actually have 40,000, so I'm hoping that by the end of the stream you probably will have.
I have.
Just being
It's
technical
clicked
here,
over. It's just
being
waiting for
technical.
YouTube to do its
oh, he
thing and
hasn't yet.
show
Oh,
on this
let me
side.
just sign into my 45 alternate accounts. I do legitimately have like
I'll
45
sub to
extra
you.
accounts that I used to
Team, you said you'd never sub
do
to me.
something.
Yeah, I'll
Ranty,
sub to you just to help you get over 40k.
Ranty, thank you for
Oh, sorry.
joining.
I guess that means I'm going to have to subscribe as well. Here we go. There we go.
Well, you are the only flat earther I'm actually subscribed to,
Lord.
so
There you go.
thank you.
Hopefully that's pushed you over.
So, Ranty, welcome to the show. I thought we could have a chat about how often you've proven the globe.
Yeah, Ranty,
Oh,
what
right,
global proof do you have for us today?
Is that what you thought? You guys just don't understand optics. What can I say? What can I say? It's one of these cognitive dissonance things that you guys have. You just see a blockage and go Earth curve.
Well,
Do you know what cognitive dissonance means, Ranty?
I do, and I also know
Right.
that you don't understand what optics are. You don't know fluid dynamics. You don't really
I wasn't
understand
talking
what
about
refraction
optics
is
or fluid
or
dynamics.
But yeah,
All
I
I
was
was
just
talking
asked
about was
about what
cognitive
globe proofs I
dissonance.
had. Well, I was asked
Right.
about globe proofs, and I'm sorry, but I'm all out of globe proofs. The only proofs I have are flat Earth proofs. I am so sorry.
I mean,
Disappointed.
seen a whole lot of globe proof from you, though.
Oh,
it's
go
You
ahead.
do an
Go on.
excellent job of
Tell
filming
me.
boats.
Tell me. Oh, the
Well, you
inferior
filmed
mirage.
several
Yeah.
boats going over the horizon bottom up. Can you explain that with your
Oh,
optics, or
absolutely. Because clearly you didn't watch the video.
I mean, I did watch the video several times
Then
actually,
you
and then I watched
didn't
it on Craig's
understand.
channel because he also put
Did
it
you
in there.
see? Did you see an inferior mirage?
I didn't need to.
Did you see the inferior mirage? It's a very simple question, mate.
Okay, but which inferior mirage are you referring to?
There is only one inferior mirage. Did you see it?
Well, which
Mm-hmm.
okay, you have
Mm-hmm.
multiple videos that
Just,
prove that.
it's a
Okay,
very simple question. Look, why is it so difficult to get an honest answer at you? I'll come on
well,
here and I
because
will be honest
I did
about
give you an
anything. If you
honest
ask me a
answer.
question, yeah, but you didn't because you just went, mm-hmm, which inferior mirage? There is only one
I mean,
inferior mirage.
that's not really what I said, but okay.
So, did you see the inferior mirage?
Let's say that I did. What's the relevance of that?
Perfect. Well, clearly you don't understand optics then because the globers,
But
which
what does
you
that have to do
probably
with a
don't come out
mirage?
of this echo chamber, and I have to say this because Craig isn't really an optics guy, but those in the knowledge on the globe side and the flat earth side all agree that the inferior mirage is an atmospheric phenomena, which means it doesn't happen on the water, which means that you can create blockage in the atmosphere, which means that the boat went behind the atmosphere and not behind an earth curve, my friend. Now, if you watch the videos, you will see very clearly that the
Wait.
boat goes into the inferior mirage. In fact, I have the whole list of stills up, which I could perhaps show maybe, to
Okay,
show you this,
okay.
because clearly you don't understand optics.
Okay, so I just heard you say that it went behind the atmosphere. Um,
No,
how do
I
you
said the
go
atmosphere
behind
caused the
something that?
blockage. The
Okay,
atmosphere caused the blockage.
why?
If
Can
you
you
are
just
in,
answer
if
for me?
can you see? All right, can you see through fog?
Well, right now I can hardly see anything because the video is really low resolution for me.
right,
Well,
let
I'm
me.
not asking about now. I'm asking, can you see through fog in general? If there was fog outside, would you be able to see
I can
100
see a
miles away?
decent distance, yeah.
Would you be able to see 100 miles
Pro
away through fog?
Probably not.
Thank you. So the
But
atmosphere
what we're looking at right
would
now is not
create the
fog.
blockage. No, what you're
Do
looking
you know what
through
fog
is the
is?
atmospheric effects. The
Okay, so
atmospheric
you've seen the
effects
video,
of the
and
inferior
now we need
mirage,
to
which
go
is
through the
clearly
process
evident
of
on
understanding.
the boat right now that is being played.
Okay,
You can see the
but
inferior mirage. You will see that the boat, wait a minute, you'll see that the boat gets further and further away, i.e. it's getting smaller as it goes away. Things get smaller as things go further away. And the angle with which the inferior mirage is creating that inferior mirage is what causes the blockage. You can still see the inferior mirage. Everything beneath that is air that it's reflecting the boat above it, and the boat is sinking into that inferior mirage. Very simple.
Okay, right now, Ranty, I'm hearing Nathan Oakley's words coming out of your mouth
No, this is
because I
my
just heard
words. I
you.
don't have.
I
This is my research that I've done for the past 5 years.
okay.
Um,
I
Perhaps
just heard
I'll
you
tell you what.
say
Say, oh,
something.
hang on, wait a minute. There was an image. There was a video there to go to. If you want to go back to that other image, that maybe shows a different image.
Which?
Just go back to my videos.
Yeah, your videos should be showing now.
Oh, hang on. I'm watching it on the live stream. One sec. Let me get this back up. Yeah, I'm not seeing my videos now. I'm just seeing it's frozen on the video.
Okay.
It should.
While we try and get this video up, I just have a question
Hang on.
for you, Ranty, and that is,
Let me send you an image. Let me send you an image. One sec.
Okay, yeah, just email me an image and I'll put that up.
Yeah,
We can talk about it.
Yeah,
okay.
I'll pop this
Ranty, can I
image
ask you a
over.
question?
Yeah, sure.
Ranty, can I ask you a question, Ranty?
Yes. If you're going to be
Okay.
asking a question, an honest question, by all means. If you're just going to be here to troll, there's no point
Well,
talking to
Ranty,
you. I feel that you don't
Ranty,
understand optics.
Ranty, I'm a very young guy. I'm not going to disclose my actual age to you, but I am
That's
a
fine.
lot younger than everyone else in this call. I'm going to try and be as honest as I can because that's how I've been taught in my school. The question I have for you is, why is the boat disappearing from the bottom up? If you are claiming the atmosphere to be the blockage, why in your flat plane does the atmosphere not block the entire boat? Because there is no reason for the atmosphere to be getting any thinner or less obscured as you go higher on the boat. So why is it going bottom up?
So the densest part of the atmosphere, in case because you're a very young man and you don't understand this stuff, but the very most densest part of the atmosphere is essentially just above the ground, just above the water. So you also get a
This I
lot
know.
of evaporate. Hold on. You also get a lot of evaporation that happens just above the water, and some of the water falls back down again. It's a very turbulent area, and it's not very high. I mean, to actually quote an elevation for this, I wouldn't be able to do that because I physically don't have that information. But if I was to have a guess, I would say it's only a foot or so every mile, right? That this atmosphere that is so turbulent. But what that will create, as you look into the distance at 15, 16 miles away, you will get then a blockage, a cumulative blockage on a flat plane of maybe 16, 17 feet. And that will create the atmospheric phenomena that you're looking at right now, which is the inferior mirage. Of course, that isn't always the case. You know, this 1 foot is just a guesstimation, and it changes with different days, different weather conditions. I have sent an image to Fight the Flat Earth Craig now by email that will demonstrate this, not on a boat, but on a piece of land in the distance. Very, very easy to understand. I think even you will get this.
There you go. I'm displaying that now. Explain
Okay,
what we're
wonderful.
saying.
Right,
Towards me.
so we are at an elevation now of essentially 50 feet. So we're taking an image from the same spot, the same tide heights, the same distance, the same buildings. Everything in the image is the same except on 2 different days. The top image has an inferior mirage on, and the bottom one does not. It's very simple, very, very simple. Craig, you're not showing it on your YouTube, are you? Oh, yes, you are. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
It is.
so
I can
the
see
top
it.
image, the top image with the inferior mirage, everything beneath that you cannot see. But in the very clear image at the bottom, you can see everything, including a truck that's actually on the shoreline. Now then, what's causing the blockage? Well, it's not the water, because on both of these days, the tide height was exactly the same. Also, it was during the day, and also it was from the same position on the rails, and it's filmed in a video. I have this video on my channel. So what is causing the blockage in this? In your opinion, would you think it was the water, or do you think it's an atmospheric blockage?
There is no blockage here. There's no blockage here. What you can't see is what is being refracted away. You can't see the light coming through that atmosphere. It's being refracted away.
So
At least that's what
what
I
is
believe to be
so?
true. I'm obviously not an expert on this topic.
Okay, so in the top image, the one with the inferior mirage, can you see the truck that would be in the bottom image? If the truck was there on that particular day, would you be able to see the truck?
No, I cannot. Or at least I can't in
Perfect.
this image.
And the blockage on this is about 30 feet. You know, it's around about 30 to 35 feet high, that actual blockage that you're looking at. Everything below 30 to 35 feet is blocked out by what? Well, it's certainly not water. It's not earth curve that's blocking it. It is an atmospheric blockage. You cannot see through the atmosphere to see that particular piece of land or the truck. Now, you asked me about the boat. Now, the boat has an inferior mirage on it, and the boat, as it goes further away, goes through that same inferior mirage. Now, the reason you can't see the bottom of the boat is the same reason you can't see the bottom of the land or the truck in the top image. It's exactly the same.
Okay.
Now, I have
So
all these still shots. There you go. Craig's just stopped the video on the boat, which shows you the inferior mirage. I also
Yep.
put a line through it to show you where the inferior mirage is. Now, that is constant throughout the whole footage. You can see the inferior mirage on the boat all the way. And the boat is going away from us, and this is sped up. I mean, the boat travels an additional 3 or 4 miles in this particular clip. And all that it's doing is getting smaller with distance. And because it's getting smaller with distance, it's getting closer to that inferior mirage, causing the blockage that you are seeing.
okay, so you said that the boat disappearing is a result of the inferior mirage. However, we have plenty, actually, of observations where no mirage can be seen. However, the boat is still disappearing from the bottom up. I mean, Craig, do
I
you
agree.
happen to have that? Do you have
I agree.
that footage from Daza, the cameraman? I
Yeah, I
think,
can just
who
grab
had the.
that.
Just a minute.
And while he grabs this, we'll.
Yeah. So, my big question for you, Ranty, is if it's an atmospheric blockage, why can't
Yep.
radar see through this atmospheric blockage? Because the atmosphere doesn't affect radar. So why is there a radar horizon?
Well, it's it's funny you should mention that because there's all kinds of different things like lasers. How about lasers? The 100-mile lasers that they were thinking of putting onto these boats to take out other boats. Now, why would you have a laser that can reach 100 miles?
Yeah, but lasers are light, and light can refract. So
Yeah,
So the
if you have that
supersonic,
photo,
super powerful. Hold on, wait a minute. So the supersonic, super powerful laser could go all around 100 miles of curve and hit a target. I mean, if that's your claim, that's fair
yes.
enough. You know.
I mean, it's not a claim; it's a fact that light refracts. You know that is just an absolute fact. And if you're saying 100 miles, that's going to be 1.76 degrees of bend. Standard refraction is about 1.5 degrees. So I'd say seeing over 100 miles of curve isn't too much of a push under standard refractive conditions.
Well, you're saying seeing. We're talking about taking out another boat. So the laser, the supersonic, superpowered, supercharged laser that shoots from one boat to another boat is going to refract around the Earth curve due to refraction and blow up a boat 100 miles away.
Well, there's no
If that's
lasers
the
that can
claim.
blow up. There's no lasers that can blow up boats. We don't have the energy to do that. The most powerful lasers we've got are able to disrupt signals within incoming ballistic missiles and stuff. But we don't have any lasers that are powerful enough to blow up boats. But regardless of how
Well,
powerful the laser is, lasers still refract.
Well, to be honest, I mean, just going back to what you said about we don't have the technology for that. I mean, what is it that's out now? Is it iPhone 10, iPhone 11, or something like that?
With the
You know, realistically, they're
P1000.
probably on
And let's see
iPhone
what happens.
25. It's just that they roll out a little bit more technology each year to make you feel like they're actually progressing
No,
stuff along. But realistically,
the
technologically,
energy
the
required,
military.
the energy required to produce a a high intensity light beam of that magnitude that could blow up something, the energy simply doesn't exist. Once we crack cold fusion, that kind of thing might be possible. But to create a laser that could blow up another boat requires more energy than we're capable of creating.
Mm-hmm. Well, as I say, I mean, I would disagree with that simply because, you know, I mean, if you think that they've released all the technology that they have right now and all the military capabilities, you
Dude,
know, I don't
you
believe
know that I
for a
was
minute.
a
I
nuclear
do.
engineer in the military working with the
Mm-hmm.
top technology that was available, right?
Well, you was probably working for the top technology in your given field. It didn't mean that the Black Ops, you know, people that were also working on probably far superior technology didn't, you know, you didn't have access to that. So you were obviously,
It
you know,
it it
boxed into what you had.
it doesn't
You were
exist,
boxed in.
Franti. It's simple physics
All
around
right.
what you're saying. Team, yeah.
Let me.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I
Let's go
just
to
want to
this.
speak
Let's
real
go
quick.
to this ship.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, see, when I was in the military, I worked on radar technology as well as I was stationed at China Lake, which is a weapons test facility. I got to see a lot of new technology come through, and to be honest, yes, the military is typically a generation or two generations ahead of what the public has, but that's not like there's no lasers that are taking out boats 100 miles away. I don't know where you're getting that from. I mean, I'd love to know
Well.
so I can look at it, but
Well. Well, I'll find it in the. I'll have to dig it up, and I will send it to you once we've finished this call. So, go on. Let's
Okay.
crack on. Let's have a look at what you. Let's have a look at this
Right.
physical blockage.
So
Yeah.
And
Uh,
this is from Dazza the cameraman, and
Yep.
he made this video to counter the claim of being able to zoom something back. You know, if it's gone over the curve, a lot of flat earthers say, well, you can just zoom it back in. And he made this video to counter that claim by having taken a screenshot when it was zoomed out, and then having it when it was zoomed in, and comparing whether there was any difference, and it showed that no, there wasn't any difference. But that's not really the point of why I'm bringing this video up. Why I'm bringing this video up is that you can quite clearly see that there's no kind of atmospheric blockage or anything. There's no inferior mirage. You can see pretty much the bottom of the boat that's on the horizon here. But the boat that is a few miles further in the distance, it's just disappeared from the bottom up. Yet there isn't any atmospheric blockage or anything like that. And I think this counters your claim.
No, well, of course it does. This counters the claim from what I made about what happens with the inferior mirages. It doesn't counter the claim for the research that's gone into why is this boat hidden behind a physical wall of water. That doesn't, you know, you've not asked me the question, what is causing this blockage of the boat in the distance? And it's very simple. The boat in the foreground is on a shelf. Now, I've actually researched this particular image and many others, as you will know, because this is what I do. The boat in the foreground, and there's a boat in the background. So the boat in the foreground is on a ridge. The one in the background is over a deep trench. And
Sorry,
what you tend to get
when
in
you
these,
say
hold
on a
on, let
ridge,
me.
So,
I'm just confused as what you mean by on a ridge. It's in the
are
water.
you saying it's like a
Okay.
sandbar?
Yeah. So if you imagine the topography of a hill, right? So obviously the waters as well. You see water, you don't know what's going on underneath the water, but there is land underneath the water. It's just how far down it is, and you know what kind of trenches it is, and what kind of shelf it has, and what's the gradient of the shelf. So sometimes you'll get some really steep inclines, like in Hawaii, that have say a 1 in 9 hill. So if you was, you know, a mile out and you wanted to come in, you'd have to, if you was on the sea floor at least, you would have to push up 1 in 9. So that would be the steepness of the hill. In other places where I live, you know, it's relatively smooth and relatively flat. It goes down to about 40 meters over a distance of around about 17 miles. So there's not a huge gradient there. So when I go out and film where I film, we have a nice, pretty much flat topography of the land underneath the water. So the fluid dynamics of the water as the tides push in and push out, there isn't a huge amount of shoaling effect in this particular area. However, in places like Australia, in places like New Zealand, in places like Hawaii, you have these tremendous shelves that drop off from the beaches. So you may only be able to play on the beach and go out and swim in the water for, let's say, the first 100 meters or so. But then the topography of the land drops off very quickly and you go to like a 1 in 9 gradient. What you're seeing here is the effects of shoaling. Now, the boat that's in the foreground is on the shoal, and the boat behind it is behind the wave that's caused by the shoaling effect. Now, that is a physical fluid dynamics. That's the force of the water pushing in and receding.
Yeah,
that
but
creates a localized.
the water would drop back down, though.
Which, no, it wouldn't. It's a constant. It is a constant.
How would it? How would it be constantly above the other point? How would it be constant?
That's not how water works.
Right? Yes, it is.
No. I mean,
Look up shoaling.
It's really not. I mean, fluid dynamics actually disagree with you.
No, it doesn't.
No, it really does. And I'm sorry, but I don't think you understand what fluid dynamics actually is, Ranty.
Oh, I do.
Sorry, Craig. Can I just ask him real quick? Ranty, are you asserting that somehow the boat on the back is like behind like a giant wall of water? Like, are you saying like if there's a trench below you, the water? Can you please let me finish, Ranty?
It doesn't. Well, sure, but it doesn't have to be a giant wall. So
Ranty, please don't interrupt me.
I was, to be honest, you interrupted me when I was talking about mine, and you told me that you wanted to stop.
Ranty, I was speaking before you.
If you play it back, you'll find that you interrupted me.
All right, Ranty, just let him finish. Just let Ranty let him finish his point, and I'll let you respond. Okay.
Okay, so what I have gathered from what you have just said is that you are practically saying that if there is a trench below the water is going to sink down to match the shape of that trench.
No.
That is what I heard from what you just said. Am I wrong, or what is it that you are claiming here?
You are wrong.
What is it? What is your claim?
Word I said.
I actually did listen. I just didn't understand it.
Okay, so put yourself in a bath and place a plank of wood out of the bath at one end and in the water at the other. So it's like a little slide inside the bath, right? So now what you're going to do is you're going to move your hand across the water and you're going to push the water towards the ramp. Guess what? The water is going to hit the ramp and it's going to push upwards due to fluid dynamics and energy. The energy of the water is going to push against.
Which part of fluid dynamics are you referring to?
Now then, let me finish. So the ramp, the topography of the land that you're viewing here has a relatively shallow basin, except for in the distance, that boat is actually in a more of a trench. The land drops off underneath the water at that point. Now what that's going to happen is when the water is moving across that trench, when it's moving across that hill that's underneath the water, it's going to push the water up ever so slightly. Now the boat that's in the foreground, being that that's on top of the trench, is going to float on it. So obviously you see all of it because it's floating. But the boat in the distance that's behind where this is actually happening is going to have a physical blockage because the water is being pushed up in the foreground, blocking parts of it in the background. Now that is what happens. You can check out shoaling. There's a calculator out there for you to
look at. Water doesn't find its own level then?
If it has no energy acting upon it, absolutely, yeah.
Well,
but when it has, the problem is with water is, and especially with oceans and stuff, is it's always moving. You know, that's the thing. The best place to probably do these kind of things is maybe lakes or something like that. But then you run into the problem of, you know, what's the sinking effect that's happening in those conditions too, because you have the denser medium at the bottom and the less dense at the top. And we know that density has more of an effect on light and how it behaves.
So basically, you're saying that it's because of the topography of the land underneath the water that the boat in the foreground is sitting on a ridge of water.
Well,
in basic terms, if you want to explain it like that, in basic terms, you could go with that. But it's
That's
obviously
wrong.
more subtle than that.
Okay.
You have to
All right.
understand this
I want
type of
to
topic.
I want to introduce Tommy Grunwald, who's come on now. Tommy has done quite a lot of photography and stuff, and I think he has
Mhm.
something that he'd like to say about this. Tommy, how are you doing?
He's okay.
Tommy,
He's
can you?
muted.
Tommy,
Well, I've got
you're
10
muted.
minutes. Hold on, guys. I've got 10 minutes, so you've got me for 10 more minutes. So just let me
Okay,
know.
Right,
and you're welcome to come back on later, Ranty. I'll be live for 40 hours.
Okay, yeah, I mean, life for 40 hours.
Okay.
That's cool.
if I have time,
While Tommy gets his microphone sorted out, I just want to ask for a little clarification on something that you said, Ranty. Like, are you describing kind of the same thing that occurs like when a tsunami happens and the water rushes up as an energy? The energy forces a displacement of the water. The water travels across the surface of the bottom between the surface of the top and the bottom of the water, like the land underneath and the top of the water. And as the land gets closer to the top, it starts forming like a giant wave. Is that what you're kind of talking about?
Well, you can look on it like that if it helps you understand it. However, obviously, shoaling is a far less of a problem as opposed to a tsunami. But in effect, the principle is somewhat the same. If you have a brick and you put it in a river, and then you watch the water run over the brick, the water will push up and over the brick. If you stick it underneath the water, it will create a hump that's above. In fact, the water won't be flat. You'll have a little ridge across the top where the brick is underneath it. You'll be able to tell where the brick is because of the hump that's created as the water rushes over it. It's exactly the same as in the oceans. There is different topography of land underneath, and the energy and the constant movement of the tides creates this effect. It is a very well known effect. You can look it up. There are hundreds and hundreds of studies on this phenomena throughout the world. If you haven't looked into it, that's not my problem. I'm just trying to tell you that this is what's going on in this particular image. If you don't believe it, that's fine. I'm happy for you to disagree. You can say it's Earth curve. I can say it's yes.
Do you hear me
It's a
now?
physical wall of
Yes,
water
Tommy, we do hear you
that's
now.
yes,
caused
Tommy, we
Thanks.
can hear
through
you.
this shoaling effect and the topography of the land underneath it, with the incoming and outgoing tides, and also you've got to take into account the swell. So there is a calculator out there. You can look it up. If you look into the swell and shoaling, you can actually type in the steepness of the topography of the land underneath. You can put the swell height. You can put the time distance between each wave, and it will give you a calculation. And that would mean that, let's say you had a swell of, let's say, a couple of meters, then the shoaling effect in some of these deeper regions with a good cut-off point could be as much as 6 meters. So the amplitude of the wave could be at least 3-4 meters in amplitude over those ridges. Now, it's a very well-known thing. You can look it up. Again, I'm only here to try and talk to you. You don't believe it, that's fine. But this is just the nature of the world.
Sorry,
Is there
can
some
I
way I
just
can share my screen?
If you can, maybe send me an email of what you need to show, or send it on to me on Discord.
Yeah.
I'll put it up for you.
Sure. First one here. This is Ranty's own drawing with the shoaling effect.
Right, let me just get this up.
I've probably got the
I just want
high
to say,
definition of that.
if the water is really being pushed up like you say it is, then either that water is going to go rushing back out and cover that boat in the background, or it's going to be coming towards the shore as a tsunami, and one of those two is going to happen. So there's a bit of an
Yep.
issue with that explanation.
Well,
This is.
I'm not
sorry.
saying it. Science is saying it. Science is saying it, and I'm applying that science to observations.
Science is not
Very
saying
simple.
that.
Science does say that shoaling is a very real effect. Science does explain these things. You need to
But
look
it doesn't
into
say
it.
that you can lift ships 80 feet into the air with an 80-foot surge of
The
wave.
water moves. Water moves.
Not 80
How
feet
do
in
you?
the air,
Okay,
though.
so if you're surfing on a wave, are you telling me that the wave underneath doesn't push you up as you ride the wave?
Yes, it does, but is
Right.
there an
So why
80-foot
wouldn't it behave
wave
the same on a boat? Hold on. Doesn't
is
have to be
there
an 80-foot wave. Doesn't have to be an 80-foot
but it
wave.
does, because the amount of boat that was covered in the background amounts to around 80 feet, given the average
No, it
height
doesn't.
of
Do
one
you
of
know what
those.
that boat was?
Sorry, please do not interrupt me, Ranty. Given
Well,
the
you're lying
average height
because
of
that's not 80 foot.
giving the average height of those cargo ships is around 120 feet is what I found, 120 feet tall, maybe more, maybe less. The amount that is covered, in my rough estimation, is 70 to 80 feet, and that is how much the water is being lifted up in your assertion. Now I'm going to pass it over to Tommy because I don't want to take up too much of his time.
Okay, well let me just answer that question before you just get away with saying that 80 foot was missing. Absolutely not. I know the boat in question. I do have the image somewhere on my hard drive. I actually got an image of it because it was moored in Liverpool, and it was on its way around the world on that particular time. And I have the same boat, and I was able to overlay the image on it. And there's approximately 25 feet hidden of the boat, and that's just the bottom part of it, and that's behind the inferior mirage. If you actually overlay it and you do a blink test on it, you will see that none of the boat is hidden except for the inferior mirage. Now, let me finish. So 25 feet of that boat was hidden, and you only need an amplitude of 2 or 3 feet of that swell where that boat was in the foreground to create the blockage of that one in the distance. Now, you don't have to believe that, as I said, but that's just the facts of it.
All right, Tommy, over to you.
Except it's not, though.
Yeah.
Because
Randy, I found this one on one of your videos, so I guess this is what you think happens, right?
I've got a better one than that I could perhaps send if I can find it.
Yeah, but even though
if you want to work with this one, that's fine. Well, to be honest, this was number one of a whole section. This was the basic nearshore wave shoaling. Now this was nearshore, as you can see.
Yeah.
Obviously, we go further out, and I bring up other. If you want to cherry pick a particular image, that's fine. I'm quite happy for you to cherry pick this particular image.
Wow.
But there are plenty. But go ahead.
Do you breathe sometime?
Right.
Of course, yeah,
Sorry.
If you're going to cherry pick, at least cherry pick an image that makes sense.
No, I'm not cherry picking. I'm just asking. This is asking.
Okay.
I'm not saying anything. I'm asking. Is this something that you describe as shoaling effect with the waves close to the shore and taller waves?
No, this was
the standing water is at the shoreline.
Yeah, no, this was the first image to show the concept of what would happen with the waves. The actual, the full shoaling effect was on a series of different other images that preceded this. Well, sorry, not preceded, went after this. And you were able to see the whole effect. This was just to get the idea in your head. You don't have to take everything literally that's in this particular image, but go ahead.
No, that's why I'm asking. Do you think those waves or shoaling effect will be taller or higher than 70 feet, 22 meters? Do you see any waves will be higher than that of the shoaling effect?
Probably not. Probably not, no.
Probably not, yeah. So, Craig, can you play those next one in Discord, please?
I just want to say I'm sorry if you hear the sounds of the storm outside. It's getting kind of loud, so...
As long as you're safe.
Yeah, keep safe, man.
Yeah, if I randomly disconnect, it's probably because my power went out, but I hope that won't happen. Yeah.
Okay, and here is...
Where are you at?
I...
Darkest.
Yes, I'm in the
It
Midwest.
cut out real bad for me, I'm sorry. Midwest, okay.
Yeah.
All right, Tommy, next one's up.
Yeah, do you see the cold air, Randy?
The cold air, did you say? I'm looking at a lighthouse and
yeah.
I don't know what I'm looking at. I can't read the words. So.
Okay, this is something I did for observation, and I'm standing at 22 meters or 70 feet. So, if the Earth is flat and you have the shoaling effect of just 13 feet or a few meters, how far away do you have to push that wind turbine for it to be below my eye level?
Well, it all depends if it's
That's
just the
standing
shoaling
1,000
effect.
feet tall.
Okay, so it just all depends on whether or not it's the shoaling effect that's causing what's going on in your observation. You have to look at all the other things that could be causing whatever you're trying to see. I wouldn't know until I've seen the observation. If you're just going to say how much shoaling would have to be, if it's just going to be a question about how much shoaling would have to be in the way to block out that distant wind turbine, then it's going to be probably hundreds of feet. Right, okay, so if you're going to just then say, right, okay, we're going to apply shoaling to this observation, and then, oh, what's going on here, then that's going to be kind of disingenuous, because if you're going to show me, obviously, some of the turbine missing and then say, well, where's the hundreds of feet of shoaling? I'm going to turn around and say, well, okay, is that the only effect that's going on in this particular image? In which case, it's probably unlikely that that's the case. You do understand refraction and you do understand sinking, don't you?
Yeah, because something's been lifted up. Yeah, but put it next one, Craig. This is my setup, so I had a water level just to make sure that everything was straight. Please. So
by the way, I love people that go out and. By the way, I just want to say, I love people that go out and do observations. Love that you actually getting your hands dirty and getting out there and get yourself out there and putting this stuff out. So, kudos to that.
Yeah, that's me. That's my observation. What you probably don't see here is that there's a thin black line on top of that green water. You probably don't see this low. There it is. So when I shoot a camera across that water line, my eye is at that white part on the lighthouse. Next, Craig. Thing is, below that line, I have those wind turbines. Do you see any distortions that would make those go down, or are they clear as it can be?
Well, obviously the image could be better. I'm not going to say it's sort of like a Snell's law kind of effect, where you got the wavy kind of stuff going on. I'm not actually seeing that. That doesn't mean that we don't have a constant sinking effect in this particular image.
Wouldn't that distort the image?
No.
No.
It's the same as in your model. In your model, you have looming and buildings that we see in the distance that are loomed up.
That would end up being look like those images you showed before with the distortions. There's no distortions here.
Because, well, if you're going to say that, then that's great, because I have tremendous footage without any distortion on of observations 30 miles away. All of it should be gone. You know, hundreds of feet should be missing, and we're seeing down to the shoreline, and there is no distortion on them. So if you're going to claim that you need to have distortion, wait a minute, so if you're going to claim that you need to have distortion to show that there's refraction, looming or sinking going on, then I would disagree. And I would disagree because that would be actually in your favour, because there's far more observations out there that show these distant buildings and distant land masses with no distortion on that defy the globe model than there is of what you're going to try and present and say this is proof of globe. We always see too far, and that's the fact. In fact, I would hazard a guess that the horizon in this, the horizon, if we could triangulate the horizon, is further away than it should be on your perceived globe. In fact, I would bet money on it that the horizon in this image is far further.
So do you...
The horizon is in front of the stone there, in front of the lighthouse.
Well, I can see the water, actually. You see the house on the left-hand side. You've got the lighthouse, then you've got a house, and then it drops down, and you've got a wave that splashes. Well, but in that little nook and cranny there, I can see water behind that, blue water. Now that tells me
no, that's not water. That's the hill.
No, to the left. There we go. There we go. Down there. There we go.
Yeah, small water. Yeah.
Spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's more water.
But,
so that tells me that. So hold on. So that tells me that the horizon is beyond this landmass. Now, I bet if you triangulated the distances involved, I bet if you did that, you would see that the horizon would be that far away.
Do you see that wind turbine between the houses there? That's 1,000 feet on the top. So why is that below level of 70 feet? Crickets.
Ranty, you still there? I think Ranty may have dropped out.
I also want to say...
it says Ranty call disconnected. So.
Yeah, I just want to say David, I think it's David Shipley. Yeah, David Shipley in the chat, he does a good point when he talks about like the swells are supposedly covering the boat. To get a constant...
Oh, Ranty's back.
He's back.
Yeah, I got a call on, for some reason I got a call on Facebook. Somebody was calling me on Facebook and it cut me off the frigging stream. So, yeah, really pissed off. Right, anyway, listen. I haven't got very much longer to go. I've only got another couple of minutes, but
yeah, me neither. I got to go in 15 minutes.
I am happy to come back and discuss this with you a bit further for sure. But
Yeah.
I would bet money that the horizon that you're seeing, I bet that water that's behind that house, I bet that you should not sit. You can triangulate the distances, and I bet that horizon is further than it should be on your model. And I will bet money. I will bet money right now on it.
Ranty, my question is, would you
like to have a bet on that?
My question was this, before you dropped out. You see the turbine between the houses there. The top of that turbine is 1,000 feet above sea level. Why is that below my eye level of 70 feet?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you basically, I don't mean to be mean, and I really don't mean to be mean here, but the setup that you had with, I know that you put some water levels there and you sort of lined it up to the camera, but you only have to be out by 1/10 of a millimeter. 1/10 of a millimeter to get this kind of. You just have to be out by that little amount.
Tommy, didn't you disprove that?
Eye line being level.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
You have the pictures in your Discord from before. If you zoom out again.
All I'm saying is that, so you wanted an answer. I've given you my answer, and that there's probably a very small error in the setup. Now, all I'm going to say is that, the horizon, for me at least, I can definitely see water beyond that.
Yeah. One
second. Definitely see.
So, Ranty, I think I just need to quickly address that before you leave. Let me get up my desktop capture, because Tommy actually demonstrated quite recently that having the camera a different angle won't actually make that much of a difference, or any difference really. Right, let me just get these up so you can see. So, Tommy had all these pictures set up, showing you that it's all level, right? And this is the picture along, looking along it with the camera completely level. But what he did then was, as you can see, he angled the camera so it's facing up, right? And then took the same picture, and what you found was that it actually doesn't change the relative eye line of what you're seeing, whether you're pointing it up, or as he did in the next one, pointed it down, and then you still get the same. Oh, I don't have the picture to actually show. Oh, yeah, here it is.
There it is. Yeah.
Pointing it down, and you see the levels are still the same. So angling the camera up or down doesn't make things in the distance raise or lower below an eye level.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about the angle of his camera raising it up or down. I'm talking about what you're trying to do here is you're trying to create a baseline from the start of the tube to the back of the tube, and using blue water to focus your level. That's what you're trying to do.
Previous,
so you can look, so that you can look through so that you can look from the start of the tube to the back of the tube and look across that water to say, oh yes, now I'm level. But you're doing that by eyesight, and it's not a big enough, there's not a long enough position there to actually to do that. It's just, I mean, as much as I'd like to say that, these things are really tricky to sort out, and I'm sorry, it's really difficult to, if you're going to try and say that I got it absolutely plumb level, because it's unless you can prove otherwise and convince me that you got that camera perfectly level, like on auto level straight.
Auto level straight, correct. The last one on the bottom, all the way down. I sent you one just now.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah.
Tommy, you should probably explain what's going on in those pictures to show why what he's saying doesn't really make sense to you.
Yeah, this one is perfect.
I understand it. So the green in the foreground and the green in the back, it's a connected tube with water in it, and it's green so that you can see it. And obviously, if you line up the center of the camera across those two, you should have a flat or a level horizontal. You should have a horizontal to the distances in the background. I perfectly understand that.
Let me just clarify this one before you start, please. You told me to shut up before the shouldering. Now this is my time. What you see here is the water level. If that black line was a millimeter above, or that wouldn't make any difference out on the lighthouse. That would be just a little thing, and that wouldn't move those turbines below my eye level. Those will still be exact same place out there in the distance.
I agree with you.
How did those turbines end up below my eye level? Those should be
one thing I will say. Yeah, I agree with you. But if we just go back, ever so slightly to that last image, and this is the one thing I would say, and I might be open to being wrong here by all means. But if you look at the first green tube, the one on the left, it looks to me as if there's more green water above the black line in that particular image. Now, if that's correct, then that would give you a even greater. If you would lift it up, so that would give you an even greater drop in the distance. So I don't think so. It's not going to.
Would that move the turbines up below my eye level?
No, what I'm saying is it's not going to go against your observation here, but it just goes to show that the accuracy of this isn't quite 100%. It's about 97%, I would say. But it's good enough for this. One thing I would say is look into sinking. If you don't understand what happens with sinking, Craig put a laser image out before where he's showing the laser through the fish tank, and what you see is the laser sinking downwards.
The thing is, Svante, every single distortion would show up in a photo as distortions.
Well,
it will be stretching and squeezing and distortions and boiling and everything that it would show in the photos. You can't have distortions without seeing it on the photos.
Okay, so if I showed you an observation at let's say 25 miles away that showed no distortion on it, would you say then that that's just a perfect image of just reality? And if that's the case, then
let's say you had those two photos you showed earlier, the left on the right, with one was pretty clear with the tower on top, and the other one was full of distortions. You see the difference there? Yeah.
So that image that I sent to you before, Craig, that I sent you by email, the one with the trucking and the inferior mirage. Yeah. So this particular image here, what would you do if I said to you that you see the inferior mirage, the one on the top? There's a top one that's an inferior mirage. Well, Earth Curve would say, get this, Earth Curve would say that at my height and distances involved, the inferior mirage, the top one, is accurate because essentially there should be 35 feet of missing on the observation on the bottom image, the one with the trucking. Now, I've been to this location. I've actually filmed from there. I know the exact hill. I actually walked down there and was actually filming from that. So I know that we're actually down to the sea level right now. There is nothing missing in this. But in your model, they would say that there should be 35 foot of missing. Now, coincidentally, that matches up to the top image with the inferior mirage, right? But my question is this. Because it's such a beautiful image and it's very clear and very crystal and you can see everything in its entirety, you can see the truck, there's no inferior mirage going on, that defies your model, just this one image, because there should be like 35 feet of Earth Curve. No. Answer the question though. Is this looming up? Because in your model it would have to be looming up, but there's no distortion in it. So it's looming up, but there's no distortion. Right?
When you do observations, when you do observations, why don't you ever have any points of reference or measurements or anything?
I've got thousands of points of reference. I measure every single height that I do. Well, that's because you probably haven't followed me for 5 years. I've showed all these observations before with my tape measure out and filming and showing my exact positions with the tripod. And everybody knows that you can guarantee when I say that I'm at a certain height or an elevation, there's no need to lie. I don't need to lie about stuff. That's not me. Because at the end of the day, I'm here for the research. I'm here for the truth. Now, at the end of the day, you can believe that or not, but everything is measured. Everything is shown to everybody. I always show my location in every single video. I don't hide anything from anybody, right? So that is me. That is down to the ground. I'm telling you that
you might not hide anything, but you don't show everything. That's the point.
Well, yes, I do. Why do you think they say I'm the greatest globe prover? Why do you think I've just, in your model, showed a globe
thank
going
you for that.
Because
you are.
Yeah. Hold on.
Because you are.
Hold on. Well, let me finish. Why do you think that I showed you the lighthouse hidden by water? Then I had to figure out that it was actually a tidal bore that goes up there. I didn't even know that until I researched it and saw that the actual timing was everything perfect for this tidal bore. Been back many times and filmed it and actually showed the tidal bore. Now, I wouldn't have known that hadn't I actually put the video out and got trolled over it saying that I'm showing Earth Curve. Now, at the end of the day, this is what it's all about. It's going out and doing the research. So, in this particular image, this shows, in my opinion, shore-to-shore observation, there should be 35 feet of missing. and it's not. It's a shore-to-shore observation. So in your model, it's being loomed, but there's no distortion. So that goes against what you said when you said if it's being loomed, it should have distortion.
Yet you have no points of reference or no measurements. That's fine.
Well,
I just want to say,
I've got 100. I've got this measurement set on my hard drive. I've actually got the measurements somewhere. Again, I've come on to have a chat with you guys, and you can either believe what I'm telling you, or you can just say that there's no measurements to back up what I'm saying.
But telling us to believe what you're saying means nothing. Telling us to believe what you're saying doesn't mean anything.
If you go around people, if you go to
Ranty, trust me, we know who you are.
So if you go to all these guys that have followed my let me finish. You followed my work. I will guarantee to a T that none of them will say that I lie about stuff. And that is the truth, because I don't need to lie about my observations. My observations, I want to understand reality. I don't want to hide stuff and pretend that things are flat or pretend that things are round. I want to actually understand reality.
So here's the thing about looming. You can have looming with distortion. You can have looming without distortion. Everything that is there can be loomed. And you can, the horizon itself can be loomed. The air above the water can be loomed. The boat sitting on the water can be loomed. The thing about looming is that it's just the light being lifted. Well, it's the light going down, which means that you can see further because you can see where the light's going, and that's what looming is. And it doesn't matter if there's a distortion or not. You can have looming either way. The fact is, when you keep saying things, there should be 35 missing feet of curve. Well, 35 feet is nothing, because you don't have to think about the amount of feet. You need to think about the amount of degrees that the light would have to bend to be able to create what you're seeing. And what's the distance there that you're looking?
Well, yeah, this is like 12 miles.
All right, so 12 miles. Right, 1 sec. So 12 miles. We're looking at 12, 24. 1/5 of a degree that light would have to bend to be able to see that shore.
Yeah, this is just one image that this just so happens that I'm showing you an inferior mirage in this video. This doesn't even get into the nuts and bolts of showing you perfectly flat observations. This is just one image that happens to just debunk the globe on its own.
I mean, it doesn't debunk the globe, because our model says that this is possible. That's the thing, right? Our model says that this image is possible on the globe. That's the thing, right?
Well, how about... So let me just... before I've got to go, mate. I really have.
Yeah, that's cool.
But just to round up, as I say, this isn't even what I would consider a proof worthy of showing for a flat Earth proof, simply because it's not that great of a distance. I can show you observations of 30 miles shore to shore. Now, in your model, there should be 400 or 500 feet of curvature at that distance.
Again, not 400, 500 feet. 30 miles, half a degree. No problem.
Well, if you say so, but we're still waiting to have proof of this looming. Right, I've got to go, guys. I really have. I've just
hit me up
Ranty,
later.
can I say one thing before you leave? Ranty, can I say one thing before you leave? How is it that you can come in here and give us this and say you can either believe me or don't believe me, and then turn right back around and say that you don't believe that this is adequate proof of the flat Earth? Why are you telling me to believe what you're saying if you yourself don't even think this is good enough? But you just said that it's not adequate. You literally just said adequate. No, Randy, you literally just said that you would not present this as flat Earth proof.
Yeah, let me finish.
You interrupted me plenty of times before. You need to answer my question.
Well, I will if you shut up. Right, so I have thousands of these particular images that show just 30 feet of obstruction, whereas I have just hundreds of observations that show hundreds of feet missing. So if you're going to ask me which ones I would bring to the table to show you these better proofs, I would show you the one hundreds of feet missing rather than 30 feet missing, because it's far greater for you to try and debunk hundreds of feet rather than just 30 feet. Right, I've got to go, guys.
So you're telling me you would cherry pick the hard ones?
Ranty, hit me up later when you're available, and I'll send you a link and come back and we can finish on the conversation if you like. Let's.
I also just want to say
I've nipped back for 5 minutes, guys. Is that all right?
Oh, hey Ranty, how you doing? Welcome back.
Okay.
Hey, Ranty.
I just want to really quickly say, Lewis TBS 2.0. I apologize for timing you out. That was a habit. I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to time you out too quickly, even though you are a flurf.
Okie dokie. Listen, I've just come back to say that. I do have to go in 5 minutes, so it's literally a flying visit. But I did send you an email, Craig, because there was a guy in before. I'm not so sure if he's still on the panel, and I'm sorry if I don't know your name, but we weren't introduced. Who claimed that the boat in the background was there was 80 foot missing. That was his claim. He said that he was definitive that 80 foot of the boat was missing. Well, I've sent an image with the exact boat, the name scaled, and you will see that there is only around about 25 feet of the boat missing.
Trying to see where it says how tall it actually is. Length and overall breadth and extreme, 159 meters. That means be about 30 feet missing, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got another comparable image that I'm going to email you right now, and you can see because I've scaled it again. So when somebody said to me that there was 80 feet missing, and I said actually no, there's about 25 feet, I was kind of called a liar. I just wanted to clear that up, say, you know, through a little bit of research, you can check out and you can actually determine exactly how much is missing. It is closer
I
to
will
25.
concede that.
Okay.
That is my.
Right.
I was wrong. I will concede that.
Thank you very much. Right, listen, I do have to go, guys, and I appreciate you for conceding that point. And yeah, I just wanted to clear that up because, you know, when I said that I'd already researched it, I already had, and I'm just sort of like sending this information so that you can not get it wrong in the future. All right, guys, take care.
Bye, Ranty.